Lechayim. Lechayim, Lechayim. Plan of action for the state of Israel. Those who don't want to serve in the army for religious purposes or moral purposes or any purposes, lazy purposes even. Have them undergo training for emergency medical services, first aid basics and emergency, whatever. Also, firearm training, anti-terrorist training, how to engage a terrorist and handle a terrorist situation with an active shooting or hostage situation, and provide them with the firearm and the first aid equipment. And as long as they're basically trained, I don't mean I mean fully trained, like with all the basic training of providing emergency first response medical and dealing with the terrorist, active shooter, etc. And they have all the equipment, meaning they have a firearm and they have a first aid kit with everything, all the basics. You let them go on the condition that the first aid kit, they have to have at all times in their primary vehicle if they have one, and in their home and office, wherever they're based out of. As many bases as they have, they must have a first aid kit in all of them. I wouldn't say they have to travel with the first aid kit because it's a bit excessive. If in their vehicle, yes, but on their person, no. Like if they're walking to the store from their office or from their home, I wouldn't say, unless you can make a first aid kit that small, the size of a gun, fine. But a gun, yes, I would say they should they should be armed with at least, with a pistol, with the ability to buy whatever they want, to buy a rifle if they want, but at the minimum, a pistol, and they have to have it on them 24/7. If you do that, what you're doing is you're providing all of the rest of the people visiting or living in, anyone who's in Israel, you're providing them with a society of citizens that are armed and can provide basic first response. So if there's an active situation, yeah, we would call whatever number it is in Israel. I don't know the number, but it's not 911, whatever the number is. You could call 911, but before they even receive the call, there's already people on scene that could provide the basic life-saving medical attention, who can deal with an active shooter, terrorist situation. Because the basic civilian citizens, my idea that I would propose is everyone who undergoes high school training for life. What's high school? It's supposed to be some type of like education training system to get you ready for life. Part of that should be medical life-saving first aid and engaging with terrorists and shooting skills and dealing with a gun and being under pressure. And everyone who graduates high school, in my suggestion, which by the way you can copy in any country, and I think it would be awesome, it would be great for the world if every citizen in every country who goes through high school is also receiving basic training on how to use a weapon, how to shoot properly, how to engage a target, how to deal with a victim hostage situation, how to deal with an active shooter, how to deal with a terrorist in every capacity, pretty much, dealing under pressure, being able to shoot accurately, knowing how to use the weapon, reload the weapon under pressure, all of it. Basic physical training also, like being able to dodge bullets and go from cover to cover and land if you need to jump from high, and just like basic ninja training. How about that? I'm not saying every high school graduate needs to be like a parkour expert, but like basic physical, a little bit more than basic. How about that? A little bit more than like the basic requirements, a little bit more. Not like you have to be a ninja or a Navy SEAL, but everyone graduating high school goes through a certain course of being physically fit. They're in shape. They're not overweight. They're not obese because they're physically fit. We could start it already from preschool, the basic fitness program where you're spending 2 hours a day of your studies doing physical activities, because that's also part of being an adult that's healthy and responsible to society is being able to protect when needed, being able to be a physical asset. You know, if you're I'm saying if you weigh like 300 pounds, you're not really a physical asset to the state in any capacity. Maybe you can make a lot of money being like a coder on your computer, but in a physical capacity, I'm not saying go to war, but I'm saying even able to like in an emergency state where like someone needs to get water, we're making like a chain carrying water to like a town. If you weigh 300 pounds or more, you probably are not an asset to the state. If you're like super fit and it's 300 pounds of muscle because you take steroids, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about, it was just like fat and weigh 300 pounds in an emergency society where we're carrying children out of a flood zone, you're not an asset, you're a liability, right? So my program or whatever that I'm suggesting would be even starting from preschool, where it's a fit program. Once you get to a certain age, we'll start training you with guns and anti-terrorist tactics. But even from the beginning, you're already in shape. People should be in shape. People should not be overweight or obese. Anyone who goes through a rigorous uh, um, like pattern, like anyone who works out every day is what I'm trying to say. Anyone who goes through physical exertion and exercises every single day, it's impossible that they're obese. It cannot be. Saying you can lose weight. I'm talking about from the beginning. So you just not gain weight. You would only gain weight if you built the muscle. But you can even lose weight without doing any diets or nothing, just by walking an hour every day, going for a hike on mountainous terrain every day for an hour. You can lose weight. I know someone who did it in the last, I think it was 60 pounds in like just a couple of months, and they never regained that. They never regained that weight. To this day, they're like super fit and muscular, and they look like they've always just been super fit and muscular. But I remember when they were fat, and the only thing that changed was one day they decided they're just going to start exercising like crazy. They did hikes every day in the mountains, every single day for like, I don't know how long, not more than a few weeks, just a few, and they lost all the weight in like a really short amount of time. I'm 60 pounds. But I'm telling you, it never came back. To this day, they're fit. And I don't know if he still goes and does hikes in the mountains. I don't think so. But he's still active, meaning working, using his body. Anyways, the point is, if we had from a general young age, you joined school, part of the school program was that you're fit, and we're training you as to be a responsible adult in society that can, in an emergency situation, help us in evacuations instead of being a liability that we need to carry through a flood to get you out. You can be someone carrying vulnerable people, old people, injured people, young people, right? So to make sure that every citizen is fit for emergency situations, and so they're not a liability on society, and so they can help. Also, making sure they're trained in weapons training and anti-terrorist training. So, and that they're armed and they know how to use a gun and they're properly stocked with ammunition and everything's kosher and legal. Their brain is functioning. They're not mentally ill. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds kind of rigorous, but it's totally doable. It's totally doable. It sounds like China, like a fantasy, but no, it's actually doable. You could have everyone who graduates high school be able to respond to almost any situation on the ground immediately, and they'll all be armed. In terms of everyone carrying first aid, again, you have to make a first aid kit that small, but you could do it. It has to be small like a gun. If you can make a first aid kit the size of a gun in a holster, then you can tell everyone else to carry the first aid kits. And you can make it mandatory instead of doing the army. If you don't want to join the army, so here's the deal. Instead, you're going to be full-time internal emergency services, meaning that yes, people will call 911 in an emergency, but we're also going to expect that there's going to be someone around, hopefully more than just one, hopefully a whole group of people around, hopefully everyone around, or even the majority of people around that can respond before 911 emergency services arrive at the scene. And that's for a medical emergency or for a shooting type of terrorist situation. It does not matter. Either way, the people on the ground that are there already should be able to respond themselves. And it's going to end a lot of these terrorist shootings. They're not going to, you know what I mean? As soon as someone enters the bus, if everyone's trained and everyone is knowing when someone is suspect, when someone's a danger, and everyone's armed, there's really nothing any terrorist could do. Meaning, we have to deal with the fact that people are being born and raised up and trained to be terrorists. We have to deal with that. But also we have to protect ourselves and make sure we're equipped for that. Once we're all equipped for that and protected from that, yes, we should deal with the issue of why are they being taught in schools in our country to kill us and trained for it. Shut down those schools, open new schools. We should have the schooling. We should have Israeli schools with Israeli teachers, Israeli everything. And the same way they go to Palestinian jihad schools now, they can go to Western Israeli schools where they're being taught mathematics and science and history instead of kill the Jew and the Palestinian Authority will pay you for the rest of your life. If you die, your family will get it, or whatever. Like, I'm just saying we have a solution. Make Lechayim. Uh, it looks like I drank 3 beers because that's the evidence. Unless I'm missing a beer. Oh no, that's not true. No, but it's true. Yeah, where am I missing a beer, or did I forget one beer that I drank already, or am I missing a beer? You know, I know the beer. I'm not missing. I remember where I drank it. Okay, fine, fine. So fine. Yeah, because there was 10. There was 6 of these individuals and then a 4-pack. So I've been in this town for quite a bit, the city quite a bit. And in the last week, like this week, in the last couple of few days, I found the store that sells beers for 7 shekels. That's like $2, about 7 of the Israeli shekels, new Israeli shekels. Okay, for a cold beer. Thing is, I thought 10 was a good price because there was a few places where I could get a cold beer for 10 at that. And most places charge 12 and some charge 15. And I just now like found a spot that charges 7. It's like pretty wild. Even the other beers were 6, even 6. It's like pretty wild, pretty wild. You can live in a place and you don't know what's like right underneath your nose. It's like we say, Hakol b'cheska sumin ad shakadosh baruch hu me'ir esinayim shel Yisrael. Everything is in the assumption of blindness until the Holy One, blessed be He, opens the eyes of Israel. Meaning everything is right there in front of you, but just hidden until God opens your eyes. Yo, Lechayim, you could request to join the video by clicking on the link on my WhatsApp status or on my Facebook profile. I don't know if I could get that link into my Facebook description or if it will change the link again once I go back to the settings and do that. What's the deal with Christianity and Islam? What's the future of both of them in a future biblical state? And also right now as the status quo of just like an Israeli state that's not exactly biblical, but it's Jewish and whatever. What's the state of? So, first of all, both are very comfortable, meaning Christians and Muslims feel very comfortable in Israel. Regardless of what you've heard or what you think there are Christians and Muslims that live in Israel that have full rights to everything that a Jewish Israeli has. They can be politicians and they have whatever rights and access that a Jew has, they have. It doesn't matter. The Jew part is not considered. So I think it's very fair and very true to say that Christians and Muslims have equal rights in the state of Israel. Atheists too, everyone does. Hindus, everyone has equal rights in Israel. In the future state, though, what will be, bro? What will be if we change the law that we follow the Bible? How are we going to become an ethno state that kicks out Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, whatever? And should we? More importantly, should we be kicking people out? Should we be like a literal ethno state? So the answer is obviously no, because if you look at the Bible, even amongst the Jews, we had other people living amongst us, whether they were slaves or just a ger toshav, which is like ger means like a foreign. No, that's zar. Ger means a convert, but this guy's not a convert. He's not a Jew. He didn't convert to Judaism. It's just the same word. But ger usually means convert. In this case, it doesn't. And toshav means like settler or resident. The concept is like someone who lives amongst you. He's not Jewish, so he's not like your brother. He's not like part of the system. He has to follow the law, obviously, but I'm saying like he's not part of the tribe. He's not Jewish, but he's living as a ger toshav. So again, I don't have a good translation for what's a ger toshav. But ger usually would translate as convert. In this case, you can't translate it like that because this guy's not Jewish. He did not convert, but he's still living in the state of Israel. So I'm saying we had in biblical times when Jews owned the land and ran the land according to the biblical law. We still had goyim, just means Christians or not Christians, Gentiles, nations. Goyim literally means nations. Goyim just means like the peoples, everyone that's not Yehudi, Jew, you know. Anyway, so yeah, we had goyim living here too. So we'll probably have goyim here living here forever. That's probably normal and doable. And it's not so hard. It's pretty easy to make a country that follows a law, regardless of how the majority of the people live there. Like if you go to Saudi Arabia or you go to Qatar, it's possible that the majority of the people at in the country at one time have interests that go against the host country. Like in Qatar, I can't promise you that right now, if you took a vote of every single person living there, Qatari, Muslim, exactly the Qatari way, like Hamas type, a lot of them are foreigners living there as slaves and they don't have any rights. They can't vote. So I'm saying if your government is set up right, it doesn't matter how many people are living in your land and paying rent and paying taxes, possibly, or I don't know what, and working. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if your government is set up right, you could have an ethno state, as they call it, and you can do whatever the fuck you want, even if you're the minority in your own country, because it's your country and you have the power. So I think that's what we're kind of leaning towards, like a Jewish ethno state. Yeah, Christians can live here and be citizens and have full access, which Qatar does not have. In Qatar, slaves that work there, they don't have citizenship. They can't vote. We could allow everyone who lives a citizen to vote and everything and still have an ethno state. We just have certain rules built into our constitution, amend it however we want. Could amend it to follow the biblical law, the Jewish biblical law, the Torah law. Leftist Israelis will have a problem with it because they don't want to be forced to be religious. But I think everyone else will respect the fact that this is the only way that we could be a liberal democracy where you can let everyone vote and let everyone have equal rights and everything while still not losing our country to secularism and still being a Jewish state. How? By making it law that we follow the Bible, and the Bible's our only source code, and our chief rabbinate is our chief court, meaning the highest court is going to be the highest rabbis. We're only interested in what the Bible has to say about anything. If you can set it up like that, then it doesn't matter who votes and who's whatever, because it can never go against the Bible, which is going to be the ultimate, line of defense. So it's totally doable. We can have a Sharia law type of system, like all these Muslim countries have Sharia law. We'll have Jewish biblical law. Everyone can vote. It could be a democracy like it is now. But the Supreme Court's going to ultimately be a bunch of rabbis, and they're going to decide what all the lower courts have said if it's going against the Bible. And they have the supreme authority as the chief rabbis, and that's where it would end. Just have to make sure that those chief rabbis are not political and they're not whatever, and they really care about God and the truth. It's really all that matters. Lechayim, Lechayim. If you go to my WhatsApp status or my Facebook profile, there's a link to join the live. Inside. You could send me a private message on WhatsApp or on Facebook, or just leave a comment here with your email address. Just saying, if you want to have a conversation with me and talk to me face to face, ask me questions, or you just challenge me, or just say hi, you could join the live here and either, like I said, yeah, either go to my WhatsApp and just message me there, go to my Facebook, message me there, or just leave a comment here with your email address so I can actually get back to you. So, Lechayim, yo, put a comment if you have a question or a comment or a statement or an grievance. Lechayim. Yo, thanks God, bro. Thanks to the God, Hashem, bro. We have internet, we have a technology, I can join you and communicate with you. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take 10 seconds to share the video. Hold on. Yo, Lechayim, thanks so much for waiting. I'm just gonna take another 10 seconds to share the video again, this time on WhatsApp. All right, thank you so much. We're back. L'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you so much for waiting. I can't see my video on my camera. I can't see what's going on. I don't know if I'm facing which way or that way. Can't. It's not showing me my camera. L'chaim though. Gotta like. You should know. Liking my video and subscribing, putting on bells, whatever you feel is good for me. Whatever level of comfort works for you, but it works for me either way, and it's good for me. Thank you. I can't see what's on my camera. For me, it's all black. When I shared it, paused, and when I came back, that's how it is. So I don't know if you could see anything on your camera. If you could, I'm guessing it's gonna be either that tree or it's gonna be me. Just don't know which way you're seeing, if you're seeing anything. But l'chaim, l'chaim. I think I'll tell you, you should have a good Shabbos. You should have a beautiful Shabbos. You should be blessed. If you want to meet up in Europe after Shabbos, I'm trying to take a flight on Monday, probably to Budapest. If not, then to Vienna on Sunday or Monday. That's the plan. Either way, the plan is to get to Budapest, to get to Rav Shaila in Karastir in Hungary, and by like Wednesday cross the border. By Wednesday, the latest, cross the border into Ukraine. There's a certain secret place I want to get to, and then another secret place for Shabbos I want to get to before Uman in Rosh Hashanah. That's the plans. If you want to hit me up and join me anywhere along the way, let me know. Otherwise, follow me on TikTok. Shabbos.